Hey everybody, just wanted to spend a little time today talking about working with your child on catching. Catching is one of those fundamental skills that we love to teach, and we teach all the time at elementary PE. So if you're working with a younger child on catching, I think the first thing to talk about is the equipment. And today I brought 3 pieces of equipment that all have different properties. This ball is a little bit larger and very light. Obviously the tennis ball is very small, it's hand size, and this ball is kind of an intermediate size ball, and it's actually a little bit heavier. And the first thing I'd like to do is say we want to have the equipment match the catching ability, the size of the child's hands as much as possible. And so if you have a very novice catcher, use something that's very light, and typically something larger is where we want to start. Next thing I'd like to do is go through our rubric that we use for identifying levels of catching skills, and this is going to kind of inform you as you work with your child on this. So the first one is if they attempt to catch the ball and they touch it but it falls on the ground, we call that a touch. And because they had to be able to track it, and they, in many cases they were able to touch it with their hands or arms, and so that's a positive first step. Level 2 for us is what we call a hug catch, and that's where they'll press the ball into their body or into their chest. Sometimes they press with their hands or sometimes with their arms. We call all of those a hug catch. Then our level 3 would be a hand catch, and this is where you notice that they're starting to catch the ball with hands only, but a lot of times you're going to notice some tension in the arms. The arms are going to be somewhat rigid, and even if the ball comes from the ground, they'll still be kind of rigid in their arms as they catch it. And our last level of catching we call pillow catching, and that's where as they catch it, you'll notice their arms and even their legs will absorb the ball. Once you've identified what level your child is catching, what you want to do is gradually increase the demands on them so you improve their skill. Just like we do in reading or math. We learn more difficult math, we learn to read larger words, we learn to write, etc. So in catching, one of the ways we change is the height of the object that we throw. As we throw the ball up higher, we have to track it for a lot longer. Another thing that we modify is the distance the ball is thrown. If we back up and throw the ball from a greater distance, it really places a different demand on the depth perception. The same thing is true if we throw the ball faster. So you can manipulate the size of the ball. I can throw a large ball and get a child to perhaps hand catch or pillow catch this ball, but when I change to a smaller ball, that equipment might elicit a different type of catch, and that's not wrong. It's just showing you that you created a little bit more challenge in the task. So besides throwing it higher, maybe backing up a little bit, you can increase the speed, but you want to be careful about this. I never like to frighten novice catchers. I'd like to have them be able to make as much eye contact as they can all the way through the catching process, and I think fear creates eye closing. And so soft equipment that's easy for them to handle is going to decrease the amount of eye closing, and we want their hands to accommodate the size of the ball, and that can't really happen if their eyes are closed. And so if you notice that happening, maybe bigger ball, softer ball, get a little closer, soft voice, you can literally get close enough so that they can have success, and then walk them back. And don't rush it. Sometimes it takes time for kids to be able to do those pillow catches and hand catches, but that's our target for everyone. The last thing that I do as far as making it more interesting and difficult is I try to get them so that they have to move to catch the ball. We call this mobility. So the ball is all of a sudden requiring a step or two in one direction or another so that they can catch it. This is another extension of catching. And this is gonna be a lead up to do some one-hand catching. If you have a tennis ball around, they work great for this. It's a nice weight and it fits in our hand really well. And I always begin with bouncing the ball and catching it in two hands to see if they can do that. And if I can bounce it with my right hand and catch it, now I'll bounce it with my left hand and catch it with two hands. And so I start with this in a very beginning way, just trying to get them to track the ball and be able to catch it. Once one hand can bounce it and catch it with two, I'll try to bounce it and catch it with that hand, and I'll usually go overhand on the way down and underhand on the way up, just like that, okay? Then the other hand, and I try to bounce it just right. So if we're trying this and you see that bounce coming way up here, I try to get it so it bounces right exactly to my hand, just like that. Just like that. Good. And then once we have the hang of that, we can start bouncing and catching from one hand to the other. Just another fun way that we can get our son or daughter doing some catching. Have fun.